What if I told you that we have writing from ancient civilizations that nobody alive today can read? Not a single word, not even one letter. These aren't just forgotten shopping lists or unimportant notes. These are complete writing systems that entire civilizations use to record their history, their beliefs, and their knowledge. And we have absolutely no idea what they say. This isn't about ancient Egypt. We cracked hieroglyphics. This isn't about ancient Mesopotamia. We read cuneiform. This is about scripts that have kept their secrets for thousands of years, despite our best efforts to understand them. Take the Indus Valley civilization. Around 2600 BC, while the Egyptians were building pyramids, this civilization was creating perfectly planned cities with advanced drainage systems, standardized weights and measures, and trade networks stretching thousands of miles. They were one of the most sophisticated ancient civilizations we know of, and they left behind writing. Thousands of inscriptions on seals, tablets, and artifacts. But here's the frustrating part. The average inscription is only about 5 characters long. The longest one we've found? Just 26 symbols. Imagine trying to understand our entire civilization from a collection of road signs and product labels. That's the challenge we face. These aren't isolated mysteries. From the Mediterranean to the Pacific, ancient scripts remain stubbornly silent, keeping their civilization's secrets locked away. The question is, why have we failed to read them for so long? And what earth-shattering truths might they contain if we finally could? Our story begins not with a grand archaeological expedition, but with railway workers in British India in the 1850s. While digging along the plains of the Indus River, they stumbled upon something extraordinary. Carefully fired clay bricks of a quality that shouldn't have existed in ancient times. Lots of them. When archaeologists arrived, they uncovered not just bricks, but entire cities, Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro. These weren't primitive settlements. They were metropolises with grid-like streets, sophisticated water management systems, and public baths. They found evidence of careful urban planning that rivaled anything from the ancient world. But the real mystery emerged when they started uncovering small stone seals. These seals contained beautiful carvings of animals: bulls, elephants, unicorns, and most importantly, strange symbols unlike any writing system they had seen before. The symbols were elegant and stylized, featuring human figures, animals, and abstract shapes. Some looked like fish or birds. Others resembled mountains or strange containers. They clearly weren't random decorations. They were arranged in lines and patterns that suggested a true writing system. The discovery was revolutionary. Here was proof that a previously unknown civilization had developed writing independently, at roughly the same time as the Egyptians and Mesopotamians. But the triumph of discovery quickly turned to frustration, as generation after generation of linguists and archaeologists failed to crack the code. Similar stories played out around the world. On Easter Island, missionaries discovered wooden tablets covered in intricate symbols now known as Rongorongo. In Crete, archaeologists uncovered linear A tablets that recorded the business of the Minoan civilization. In Italy, Etruscan inscriptions appeared on tombs and artifacts, written in a language that remains largely mysterious, despite our ability to read the letters. In each case, the pattern was the same: excitement over the discovery, followed by growing frustration as the scripts resisted all attempts at decipherment. These weren't just puzzles. They were time capsules waiting to be opened, each potentially containing answers to some of history's biggest questions. So why can't we read these ancient scripts? What makes them so difficult to decipher? The answer lies in 3 fundamental problems that plague would-be decipherers. First, the length problem. As mentioned, most Indus Valley inscriptions are incredibly short. The average is just 4 or 5 characters. The longest is 26. Compare that to the Rosetta Stone, which helped us decipher Egyptian hieroglyphics. It contained the same text in 3 scripts and was hundreds of characters long. Without longer texts, we simply don't have enough material to work with. It's like trying to solve a jigsaw puzzle with only a handful of pieces. Second, the bilingual problem. The Rosetta Stone worked because it presented the same text in known ancient Greek and unknown Egyptian. For most undeciphered scripts, we have no such translation guide. There's no known language to compare them to. The Indus Valley civilization disappeared millennia ago, and we don't know what language they spoke. Was it related to Dravidian languages of South India? Was it something else entirely? Without knowing what language the script represents, decipherment becomes exponentially more difficult. Third, the context problem. we know surprisingly little about the Indus Valley civilization's culture, religion, or daily life. We have their artifacts and cities, but without written records, we can't put names to their gods, understand their political structure, or know how they viewed themselves. When deciphering ancient scripts, cultural context provides crucial clues. For the Indus script, we're largely working in the dark. These problems aren't unique to the Indus Valley script. Linear A from ancient Crete suffers from similar issues: short texts, no clear linguistic relatives, and limited cultural context. The same goes for Rongorongo from Easter Island and many other undeciphered scripts. For decades, these obstacles seemed insurmountable. But recent developments in technology and new approaches to the problem are giving researchers hope that we might finally be on the verge of a breakthrough. Despite the challenges, researchers haven't been idle. Over the decades, they've developed several compelling theories about what these mysterious scripts might represent. The religious theory suggests that these scripts weren't used for everyday communication, but for sacred or ceremonial purposes. The Indus Valley seals might have recorded prayers, divine names, or ritual instructions. This would explain why the inscriptions are so short. They might be dedicatory messages or divine invocations rather than prose. The administrative theory proposes that the scripts were used for practical record keeping, tracking goods, recording transactions, or identifying ownership. The seals might have been stamped onto clay tags attached to trade goods, functioning like ancient barcodes that said, "This belongs to X," or "This contains Y amount of grain." This would explain their brevity and why they're found on so many practical objects. The linguistic debate continues to rage. For the Indus script, some researchers believe it represents an early Dravidian language, related to languages still spoken in South India today. Others argue it might represent a completely lost language family with no modern relatives. Until we can definitively link the script to a known language, decipherment will remain incredibly difficult. Then there's the most controversial theory, that some of these scripts don't represent language at all. In 2004, some researchers suggested the Indus symbols might be non-linguistic signs, similar to corporate logos or religious symbols today, that convey meaning without representing specific words or sounds. Most researchers reject this idea, but it shows how mysterious these scripts remain. What's at stake in these debates isn't just academic curiosity. If these scripts represent full writing systems, they would place these civilizations among the handful of cultures that invented writing independently. If there's something else, they might represent a completely different approach to communication that we don't yet understand. Either way, deciphering them would revolutionize our understanding of these ancient peoples and potentially rewrite chapters of human history. In recent years, new technologies have given researchers powerful new tools in the fight to decipher these ancient scripts. Computer analysis has allowed researchers to statistically analyze thousands of inscriptions simultaneously, looking for patterns that would be invisible to the human eye. Computers can track which symbols tend to appear together, which positions they occupy in words, and how frequently they occur, all crucial clues for decipherment. Database technology has allowed researchers to compile complete corpora of known inscriptions. The Indus script research community now has access to searchable databases containing images and information about every known example of the script. This shared resource helps researchers build on each other's work rather than starting from scratch. 3D imaging has revolutionized the study of ancient inscriptions. By creating detailed three-dimensional models of inscribed objects, researchers can study the precise shape and depth of each stroke, sometimes revealing details that are invisible to the naked eye. This can help distinguish between similar symbols and understand the writing technique used. Artificial intelligence is the newest tool in the decipherment toolbox. Machine learning algorithms can analyze thousands of inscriptions looking for patterns and correlations. While AI hasn't deciphered any major scripts yet, researchers are optimistic that it might spot patterns that humans have missed for decades. But technology alone isn't enough. Many researchers believe the ultimate key to decipherment will be the discovery of a longer text, an Indus Valley equivalent of the Rosetta Stone. Given that less than 10% of known Indus Valley sites have been excavated, such a discovery remains entirely possible. The race is on between technology and archaeology. Will computers crack the code first, or will archaeologists unearth a text that makes everything fall into place? Either way, we're living in the most promising time for decipherment since these scripts were discovered. You might be wondering, why does this matter? Why should we care about deciphering scripts from civilizations that disappeared thousands of years ago? First, historical understanding. The Indus Valley civilization was one of the world's first urban societies, alongside Egypt and Mesopotamia. But while we know extensive amounts about those other civilizations thanks to their deciphered writings, the Indus Valley remains a mystery. Their writings could tell us about their social structure, their political system, their beliefs about life and death, essentially, what it meant to be human in one of the world's first cities. Second, cultural heritage. For people in Pakistan and northwest India, where the Indus Valley civilization flourished, deciphering the script would reconnect them with their deepest roots. It would be like discovering that your family has a history book going back thousands of years that you never knew existed. The psychological and cultural impact would be profound. Third, linguistic knowledge. If the Indus script represents a previously unknown language, deciphering it would add an entire new branch to our understanding of human language families. Even if it represents a known language family like Dravidian, it would give us unprecedented insight into that family's early development. But perhaps most importantly, these undeciphered scripts represent the limits of our knowledge. They remind us that for all we know about ancient history, there are still enormous gaps in our understanding. They represent humility, the recognition that past civilizations possessed knowledge and ways of thinking that we have not yet recaptured. The drive to decipher these scripts isn't just about academic curiosity. It's about reclaiming lost pieces of the human story. It's about hearing voices from the past that have been silent for millennia. And it's about recognizing that history is never completely known. There are always new discoveries to be made, new stories to be heard, if we're only clever enough to listen. So where do we go from here? What does the future hold for the decipherment of ancient scripts? The most immediate hope lies in new excavations. With less than 10% of known Indus Valley sites excavated, there's always the possibility that archaeologists will uncover a longer text or a bilingual inscription that provides the key we need. This isn't just wishful thinking. Many of the greatest breakthroughs in archaeology have come from unexpected finds. Technological advances will continue to provide new tools for decipherment. As computing power increases and AI algorithms become more sophisticated, our ability to analyze these scripts will improve exponentially. What seems impossible today might become routine in a decade. International collaboration is increasing among researchers studying these scripts. Rather than working in isolation, linguists, archaeologists, computer scientists, and historians are pooling their knowledge and resources. This interdisciplinary approach is essential for tackling such a complex problem. But perhaps the most important development is changing perspectives. For much of the 20th century, researchers approached these scripts with certain assumptions about how writing must work. Today, there's greater openness to the idea that ancient civilizations might have developed writing systems that work differently from anything we're familiar with. This isn't just about solving puzzles. It's about expanding our understanding of what human civilization is capable of. It's about recognizing that ancient people were just as intelligent and creative as we are. They just expressed that intelligence differently. The silent scripts of the ancient world represent one of history's greatest unfinished stories. They challenge us to be better, to be smarter, to be more creative in our thinking. They remind us that the past still has secrets to reveal, if we're willing to listen. The question isn't whether we will eventually decipher these scripts. The question is what we'll learn about ourselves when we finally do.